Hello friends, welcome to Level Audiobook. Today we'll dive deep into one of the most practical and life-changing books, How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe. But instead of just a plain summary, let me tell you a story of a young man named Hrithik who struggled with the same problems that most of us face: procrastination, distractions, and lack of direction, and how this book slowly transformed his life, step by step. So sit back, grab a cup of tea, and imagine this journey with me. The beginning. A winter evening in Delhi. It was a cold winter evening in Delhi. The sky outside Hrithik's flat was grey, the streetlights dim, and the chill in the air made everything feel heavier than usual. Hrithik sat alone in his small one-bedroom apartment. On the surface, his life looked fine. He had a decent job in digital marketing, a stable income, and the comfort of living in the city. But deep inside, he felt restless. Something was missing. He often asked himself, am I really living, or am I just surviving? That evening, as he lay on his bed, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, he stumbled upon a book review video. The book was called How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon Howe. Hrithik chuckled to himself. What a boring topic. Discipline? Who reads about that? But then a strange thought struck him. Maybe, just maybe, discipline was the very thing missing in his life. He had big dreams, yes, dreams of starting his own company, becoming an expert in his field, and getting fit. But dreams alone weren't enough. Almost impulsively, he ordered the book online. 3 days later, a small brown package arrived at his door. Inside it lay the book that would change his life forever. Lesson 1. Set clear goals. That evening, Hrithik carried the book to his balcony. A hot cup of chai steamed on the small table beside him. He opened the first chapter, Set Clear Goals. As he read the first few lines, he felt as if the author was speaking directly to him, holding a mirror up to his face. The book said, discipline starts with clarity. If you don't know exactly what you want, no amount of effort will lead you there. Hrithik froze. That was him. He always said he wanted to do something big. But what exactly? He had never written it down, never made a plan. His dreams were vague clouds, floating without shape. That night, something shifted. Hrithik went back inside, pulled out a notebook, and for the first time in his life, he wrote down his goals. Lose 10 kilos in 6 months. Complete 3 advanced digital marketing courses. Read 5 books every month. When he finished writing, he felt a wave of relief. It was as if a heavy fog had cleared from his mind. Of course, he knew it wouldn't be easy, but now, at least, he had a direction. The next morning, his alarm rang at 6 a.m. He groaned, pressed snooze, and fell back asleep. When he finally opened his eyes, it was 7:30. Frustrated, he muttered, I can't even do this one small thing right. But then he remembered the book. One line came back to him. Failure is part of the process. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. That evening, he bought a big white chart paper and pinned it to his wall. He wrote his goals in bold letters and drew empty boxes next to them. Every time he completed a task, he would mark a tick. Day by day, those ticks became his fuel. Slowly, he began to change. He started jogging in the mornings, just 15 minutes at first, then 20, then 30. The cold Delhi breeze stung his face, but it also woke him up like never before. For the first time in years, Hrithik felt alive. But life, as always, had other lessons waiting. Lesson 2. Develop a routine. A few weeks later, Hrithik turned the page to the second chapter, Develop a Routine. The book said, a consistent daily routine builds habits. Habits build character, and character shapes destiny. Hrithik knew this was his biggest weakness. His life was messy. Some nights he stayed up till 2 a.m., some mornings he skipped breakfast, and weekends disappeared in endless Netflix binges. He picked up his notebook again and wrote down his ideal day. Wake up at 6 a.m., exercise from 6:15 to 7, breakfast at 7:30, work from 8 to 12 o'clock, lunch break, work again from 1 to 5, skill learning or reflection from 6 to 7, dinner and family time, sleep at 10 o'clock. It looked perfect on paper, but following it, that was a different battle. The first few days were torture. His body resisted waking up early, his mind screamed for just 5 more minutes, but every time he pushed through, he remembered the book. Habits are hard to build in the beginning, but consistency turns struggle into ease. Within weeks, he noticed the change. His mornings were no longer wasted. His productivity doubled. His manager at work even told him, "Hrithik, I don't know what's changed in you, but your output has improved a lot." He smiled and thought, "It's just discipline, sir." But routine didn't mean rigidity. One Sunday, his friend Rahul called him for a movie. At first, Hrithik hesitated. It clashed with his evening study time. But then he remembered another line from the book. A rigid routine becomes a prison. Discipline also means balance. So he went, enjoyed the movie guilt-free, and returned refreshed. Routine wasn't about killing joy. It was about giving joy a structure. Lesson 3. Embrace self-control. Just when things were going well, Hrithik slipped. One evening, after a long day at work, he switched on the TV, just for 10 minutes. 3 hours later, he was still glued to the screen. When he looked at his wall chart, guilt washed over him. Why do I keep falling back? That night, he opened the 3rd chapter, Embrace Self-Control. The very first line struck him. Self-control is the ability to say no to what you want now for what you want most. He realized this was his greatest enemy, short-term pleasures, scrolling social media, eating sweets, binge-watching shows. Each of these tiny temptations pulled him away from his bigger goals. The next morning, he deleted all unnecessary apps from his phone and set strict screen time limits. He allowed himself just 15 minutes of social media a day. It was hard. Sometimes his fingers itched to unlock the phone, to check notifications. But each time he reminded himself, discipline is a muscle. The more I use it, the stronger it gets. One Saturday, his friends invited him to a late-night party. He knew that if he went, his Sunday morning workout would be ruined. With a heavy heart, he declined. At first, his friends teased him, but the next morning, when he was jogging under the rising sun, he felt proud. For once, he had chosen his long-term self over short-term pleasure. Lesson 4. Practice mindfulness. Despite progress, Hrithik noticed another problem. His body followed routines, but his mind often wandered. While working, he thought about the past. While eating, he worried about the future. He was everywhere except in the present. Then came the 4th chapter, Practice Mindfulness. The book said, the present moment is the only place where life exists. Discipline is not just about control of actions, but also of attention. Hrithik decided to try meditation. Every morning after his jog, he sat quietly on his balcony, closed his eyes, and focused on his breath. At first, his mind raced, deadlines, memories, worries. But instead of fighting them, he let them pass, always returning to his breath. Day by day, something shifted. He became calmer, sharper, more focused. At work, when deadlines piled up, he no longer panicked. He simply broke tasks into steps and handled them one by one. Even in personal life, mindfulness worked wonders. When he called his mother, instead of half listening while scrolling his phone, he gave her his full attention. She noticed the difference immediately. "Beta, today you really listened to me." That one sentence warmed his heart more than any success at work. Lesson 5. Learn from failures. Then came his biggest test. At work, Hrithik was given a major project. He planned every detail, worked day and night, and felt confident. But when the deadline came, things collapsed. The project was incomplete, and his manager scolded him harshly. Hrithik felt crushed. I worked so hard. Maybe I'm just not good enough. But that night, the 5th chapter gave him hope. Learn from failures. It said, failure is not the opposite of discipline. It is part of discipline. Each failure is feedback. Instead of drowning in guilt, Hrithik reviewed his mistakes. He realized he had tried to do everything alone instead of delegating. He had ignored small details until they piled into big problems. So he wrote a new rule on his wall chart. Every failure equals one lesson learned. The next project came. This time he communicated better, divided tasks smartly, and handled issues early. The result? Success. His manager told him, "Hrithik, you've grown a lot." Hrithik smiled. Inside he whispered, "Thanks to failure." The journey continues. By now, Hrithik had absorbed 5 powerful lessons. Set clear goals, develop a routine, embrace self-control practice, mindfulness, learn from failures. Each one added a new layer to his life. His fitness improved, his career advanced, his relationships deepened, and, most importantly, he finally felt at peace with himself. One evening, as he sat in his balcony watching the sunset, he thought back to that cold night when he had ordered this book. He almost laughed. I called this topic boring, but this book has given me a new life. Hrithik knew his journey was far from over. Discipline wasn't something you achieved once. It was something you practiced daily. He picked up the book again, eager to see what other lessons awaited, and with a calm smile, he whispered to himself, "Now let's see how much further I can go." So friends, this was the story of Hrithik and How to Be Disciplined by Sheldon. How changed his life. If you found this story inspiring, don't just stop at listening. Take a notebook today, write down your goals, and take your first small step towards discipline. Remember, discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence, and every small step matters. If you like this summary, make sure to subscribe to Level Audiobook for more stories like this. You can also support us through membership or UPI. See you in the next video with another book that might just change your life.